All right. Good morning. Good morning. Hello. Hello. It is Tuesday. I was going to say Monday. It is Tuesday. It is August 5th, and this is Ask a Clutter Boss. Ask a Clutter Boss is the internet's, our internet's best weekly decluttering advice show, in my extremely biased opinion. Okay, so where are we going today with Ask a Clutter Boss? I have a trigger warning. We are going to be talking about death and decluttering. If this topic is too heavy, feel free to not listen to the rest of this because it may be a little bit raw. But it's a really important topic, and I think it's something that we skirt around a lot. And I want to have just a frank discussion about this death and decluttering. So again, if this topic feels like too heavy for you right now, no worries. We will see each other again next week. Good morning, everyone. This is on my mind a lot right now because one of my neighbors passed away last week. And anytime there's death in our circle, and since I'm a professional organizer, I get really hyper focused on like what happens to our stuff. What is the connection between grief and decluttering? How do families handle things after we pass away? The topic of death can be really inspiring and it can be really depressing also. So I just want to kind of throw my thoughts out there for Ask a Clutter Boss today. I think it's important to remember we come into this world with nothing and we leave this world with nothing. But when we leave this world, we tend to leave behind a tremendous amount of stuff. I was kind of wondering as I was thinking about this morning, like what did people do 200 years ago when they passed away? The burden of their stuff would have been basically non-existent. And in fact, it probably wouldn't be a burden at all. I am feeling pretty sure that, hundreds of years ago when somebody passed, they maybe had a few personal possessions that were gratefully repurposed by somebody else in their family. The situation when we pass away today is so different. What I've noticed with a lot of my clients, and I worked on a lot of estates, I've been a part of a lot of estate situations. I've also worked with many clients who have dealt with estates, and half the estate is in their garage, in the storage unit, in a basement. They took the estate home because it's a whole lot of stuff that we all individually have right now. And the cold, hard truth, as you've heard me say so many times, is every single thing that we own is going to end up in a landfill one day, period. Now, it might not be tomorrow. Sometimes we can find a second use for it, a third use. Sometimes we can pass it on to somebody who's going to use it. But at the end of the day, everything is going to end up in a landfill. We're not taking any of it with us. And it's the usefulness of the modernly produced item is pretty nil. There's just, think of the appliances that we have now. 5 years, 10 years if you're lucky, maybe more if you have a repair person in your life. Things are not shirts. I mean, sometimes I wear a shirt 2 times and it gets a little pinhole in it, or it gets a stain that can't come out. It's the stuff that we have today is not meant to last a long time. And when we leave a lot of stuff when we die, it really complicates the grieving process, because now our loved ones, our family members, our friends are grieving the loss while also facing this enormous, what am I going to do with all of this stuff? There's a huge estate issue that comes with it. So now you're grieving and also processing belongings at the same time. And the hardest part about people's stuff who have passed away is when there's grief and there are belongings, I believe we need to give it a little bit of time before we can go through all of the stuff. But a lot of times we don't have that time. Like, the time is a gift, and oftentimes the estate needs to move forward. Like, we can't just let the stuff sit while we experience grief without the process of going through the stuff. Oftentimes, we have to experience grief and then immediately be dealing with an estate. And that's really, really complicated. That's really complicated. And okay, this is a great point. Madonna saying too, in her situation, all of the stuff has led to delayed grief, which is a whole other thing too that happens. So there's a lot of impact of leaving a lot of stuff when we pass. And I just think it's really important to have this conversation because why are we decluttering right now? Or okay, better question. Why are we hanging on to our things right now? Like, what is the end game? 2 weeks ago on my Monday morning motivation, I shared a question that I've been asking myself a lot. Is it going to matter if I have this thing 1 year from now? Is it going to matter if I have this thing 1 year from now? But we can kind of extrapolate that out even longer. Like, is it going to matter in the rest of my life if I have this thing? And of course, nobody knows how long their life is going to be. Um, so is this so important that I'm hanging on to it and I don't even know if I'm going to be able to use it for the rest of my life? Like, these are really big questions and they can feel like incredibly uncomfortable. Death is incredibly an uncomfortable topic for so many of us to talk about. And understandably so. We are very far removed from death until it's right there in our lives. Um, and I think from a decluttering perspective, it can be really important to sit with these uncomfortable feelings and really examine your motivations for hanging on to stuff and examine how it brutally honest, how is your clutter holding you back from living life right now, knowing that the amount of time that we have is a big unknown? How is it holding you back from living life? We're hanging on to stuff because we might need it in the future, but what is it preventing us from doing right now? And I encourage you, if you have not if you have been fortunate enough to not experience an estate situation after a close one has passed away, talk to your friends, ask them about their experiences if they've had that, because it's really, really enlightening to your own journey to understand how complicated it is for family members and friends after someone passes and leaves a lot of stuff behind. So a little heavy today. um, I guess I'll end on this one important note. You have a life that is worth living. You deserve to have a life that is worth living. And you're going to have to fight for that. You're going to have to fight for that. You're going to have to fight the clutter. You're going to have to fight the mindset. You're going to have to fight um, some of these core beliefs that we're raised with as children. You're going to have to fight to have that life that you want to live. And it's a fight worth fighting. It is 100% a fight worth fighting. My neighbor who passed away, um, he lived one of those lives where you're like, I just hope that I live to be, 86 and um, all of my neighbors are like, wow, I just want to have a life like that. The experiences, he just never stopped living up until the moment of his death. And that's the life that I want. And I am using this as an inspiration to continue to fight for that life. And I hope that you do too, because you are completely, completely worth it. And to the person in the comments here, I literally have so much stuff. I don't know where to start, so I don't start. You're just going to have to fight through that feeling and get started. It doesn't matter where you start. It does not matter. It only matters that you start. And fighting with yourself to just start. Just start. Touch something and tackle it. Touch something and decide what you're going to do with it. And one more side note, the cold, hard truth here, another cold, hard truth is we have to let go of so much stuff to live a life that is free from the burden of clutter. We don't need to be minimalists, but we need to live within the space that we have. And that probably requires getting rid of 50 to 80% of your stuff. The more that you can just recognize that and know you have to let go of a lot of stuff and it's going to be okay. It's going to be amazing, actually. But you have to let go of a lot of stuff. The sooner and faster that you can do that, the sooner and faster you're going to find your freedom from clutter. And that is the only way forward. And you can do that. You totally, totally can. All right. I love you guys. Keep fighting for yourselves, and I will see you next week.